Good evening, and welcome to another scene in Odessa the Dark Crusade Season 2. We find ourselves on a very warm summer evening, I'm sure, with it sounds like bad weather rolling in. Um, if you've been keeping up with the rumors. And so Thorvuld has written the prince, or not the prince, the sheriff. One day the prince, maybe. He has written the sheriff asking permission to meet to discuss something of importance. And so, after a several day interlude, he has finally been granted permission to do so. And so, uh, he has been summoned to the sheriff's office at the palace.
Thorvald will arrive on time and fairly smart, smartly dressed for someone of his rank. He's soldiering, basically nothing unusual. Thorvald tends to wear black armor. It's nothing particularly special at the moment. He's not wearing his usual high-end armor, which Memnon made for him. He's wearing a long black cloak, and his hood is up because the rain's been coming down quite hard. And he pulls his hood down when he gets into the palace and explains to a guard that he's here to see Gerard, and presumably is led towards Gerard's office. And when he's there, he will knock and wait.
Um, After a moment, the door is open and a um, soldierly individual will um, step out and give acknowledgement to the waiting party, and a very, very unenthusiastic enter will emanate from within the room.
Thorvald comes into the room and he'll get sort of a respectable um, distance from the.
Yeah.
Hello?
Sorry
He
about
gets
that.
he gets a respectable distance away from the desk, and then he'll click his heels and go into sort of a bow, which is more military in delivery. Um,
So whenever you step into the room, you'll notice that it's pretty barren. All things considered, there's not a ton of accoutrement in there. There is a rather nice looking case with an ornate sword inside of it. That was a gift from Alkadir and Memnon, and Torvald might recognize the craftsmanship, but otherwise, there's not a whole lot of insignia or anything like that in the place. There's a table with a bunch of paper strewn about it and a map of the city, and Gerard standing in front of it, sort of looming over, moving around various things. And whenever Torvald enters, he'll look up and sort of relax his posture, clasp his hands behind his back, and say, "You've arrived on time. Excellent."
Thorvald lowers his head respectfully and says, "Thank you for seeing me, Sheriff."
I do apologize that it was such a long delay. There have been many matters put before me.
Thorvald nods. He raises his head. "I understand you have many matters to deal with."
So what can I help you with?
I've come to request a writ of passage.
I see. Very well.
I have a vested interest in assisting your hound, Memnon, and a writ of passage would allow us to move through the city with greater ease, or myself at least.
Indeed it would. So, you are interested in the events going on in the Toreador domain, then?
He nods.
Then you've spoken with the Primogen about this?
I have.
Well then, supposing you have her permission, I do not see the harm in allowing you to assist them. It's one matter I, thankfully, will not need to attend to personally, given the number of esteemed Canaanites working on it. A writ should be no trouble. And so he sort of like leans down and rummages through some of the papers and pulls up one of them and sets it forward um, with a little ink pot and a quill. It says, "You know the price."
I do not.
All I ask is a simple major boon, and this will last you throughout the entirety of the tenure, not merely for when your business is completed, but till the terminus of the curfew.
Thorvuld nods. I accept.
Very well. Make your mark.
He leans forward and signs. It's clear that he signs in more of a Latin script.
Mm-hmm. Very well. I do not anticipate that the favor shall be taxing, but that is something, I suppose, for you to decide.
You are sheriff of this city, and I serve our prince, and therefore my services are yours anyway. But I accept that Canaanites often trade in boons.
Indeed, they do.
Thorvald eyes Gerard, knowing that he was in part responsible for the death of a creature close to him. But a man must swallow down emotional feelings and sentiment when it comes to duty. So he leans back up off the desk and places his arms in front of him, folding them.
When you do have a moment, I know that you are seen in the company of Madeline of Clan La Sombra. I would like to speak with her at some point. If you would please relay the message. Nothing pressing, but at your leisure.
Of course, I know she has whispered to me that she desires your company as well on some matter, so I will pass along the message, of course.
Very well. As for the goings on in the Toreador domain, follow Memnon's lead, and there should not be any legal ramifications you need worry about.
The Toreador Primogen has requested my assistance and given me permission to investigate in the areas that are not owned by others in the guildhalls. So,
I apologize. I did not make myself clear. I did not mean in the way of breaking domain. I meant in the literal sense of law and order within the city.
I understand, Sheriff.
Was there anything else you needed to speak to me about?
No.
Very well then.
He'll pick up his writ, tuck it safely inside his armor, and dip a deep bow of respect, and leave the room.
And Gerard goes back to whatever it is Gerard is doing at the moment. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Good evening.